Good morning. It's 7 o'clock. I've already packed up most of my gear. I just got my tent to go. It's pretty damp. I just woke up Matthew and Steven. So much for getting an early start, about 6:30, but it was a little too dark. And with the rocks and the roots, I don't think I want to walk on the trail, although we could have done it by headlamp. Well, there's actually a couple of mosquitoes out now. It's quite chilly. It's probably in the 60s, so it's nice. But I'm still warm. I decided to switch to shorts today, took the pant legs off, and had a usual pretty restless night until about 1 o'clock, and then I finally fell asleep until close to 6, and then I tossed and turned for a little while and finally decided to get up around 6:40, packed up all my gear inside my tent and got dressed in 20 minutes, so I was happy. And I came out at 7. The tent is wet, but I'm going to put it away. And it doesn't matter because I'll be able to open it up later today and air it out and let it dry. So I'm not worried about it getting damaged with moisture. So I'm going to finish packing up, and you can see behind me the sun's starting to light up the sky. So by 7:30 I hope we're out of here and making miles. Check back in later when it's better light. And here's Matthew. He's almost all packed up. And Steven's over there, putting his stuff away, getting packed up as well. I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty. Last night, didn't have any water, really, just a gulp or two. And skipped brushing my teeth. Didn't want to waste the water. I would have swallowed it after, though. I thought about it. But, not much, but we got miles to go, so we'd like to take advantage of this nice cool weather, make some miles. So I'm hoping it's 7:20 now. I'm thinking 7:40, 7:45, being realistic. Steven's got a lot of stuff to pack up still. But other than that, we're making time. We should be just as good as yesterday, if not better, since we're starting earlier. And we're motivated to get water. Maybe we'll pass some people on the trail. You never know. Get lucky. Okay, it's 7:45. We are on the trail, heading back in. Got about 12.1 according to the map, but I think it's actually longer than that. The app, I should say, says 12.1, but our mileage out here was a lot more, a little bit more, probably about another half mile, but that could just be walking up and back. So we know where we're going and what we have to do. We just have to make it back and get water. So everybody pretty much slept restless last night. It did cool down a lot, which is nice. And it's cool right now, but it's going to be warming up quickly. So the good thing is we're starting only an hour earlier than yesterday. So I hope that we can keep it going and get our mileage done easy as we get closer, and the incentive of water and cold drinks. And this is one of the areas that are supposed to have water in them and be quite marshy, and you can see it's just dry as could be. So I'll continue on. Now I got Steven and then Matthew in the lead now, and the sun in the distance. Still beautiful. And here we are at mile 11. Yeah, I was talking to Matthew and Steven, and we're all basically thirsty. Some of them have more water than me. I think they both have more water than me now. But we're all pretty thirsty, but we're rationing it out. So I realized that I hadn't gone to the bathroom since yesterday, probably around 3:30 or so. And got some rocks here. I can't look at the screen, I'll end up on my face. And I didn't go to the bathroom again until after 7 this morning. So that's quite a stretch of time. I don't think I've ever gone that long without going to the bathroom. And that's just illustrates how little water I've been intaking. So input meets output. So without any input, there's not much output. So we made it to 10 Mile Camp, which is actually at 9.5 miles for some reason. Been walking for a little over an hour. We stopped, take a drink, have a little snack, and Steven's doing a little repair to his pack. Other than that, it's moving. The sun's definitely up now, so you can tell. And it's going to start getting warm, unfortunately. So we got about another 9.5 miles to make it back to the airfield, and then about another half mile after that. Watch out here for these solution holes, they call them. They're basically pitted areas of the rock below, and there's some sections where you see them consistently. They're all over. But that would definitely twist or break an ankle. So you really got to slow down and watch yourself there. That was just one by itself. But there's some sections where there's just, several yards of them all together. Where I guess, the water over time has eroded it. And I don't know if plants have something to do with it as well. Making roots in there and help breaking them up. But they erode. And you really could twist an ankle there, so you got to be careful. Just stopped after mile marker 4. I'm going to drink the rest of my water and maybe have a snack. And hopefully in another hour and a half or so, we'll be back at the Oasis Visitor Center. There's Stephen and Matthew. He's got a little bit of water left. He's actually got a lot of water left. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I was doing. So I'm getting close. I could see the antenna and the roof of the Oasis Visitor Center. So I'm probably about 0.7, 0.8. I haven't came to the fence yet, but it's getting close. Definitely feeling the effects of dehydration. Got a headache. Don't feel just quite right. So it's hot out here. It's in the 90s, probably mid 90s. Not much shade. I think there's going to be a little bit up here, but we haven't got much reprieve with clouds and the shade. So my head feels like it's baking. Definitely feel tired. I just want to lay down and rest. But I'm pushing myself on because I know I'm close. Hopefully 10 more minutes or so, and I'll be able to take my pack off and take a rest. Okay, I'm alongside the airport fence. So I know about a half mile or so left to go, and we'll be there. It'll be welcome. Can't wait. I'm really feeling it. I definitely need some water, and at least to just get in the shade and just stop exercising. I need to cool down. And you can see the airfield fence right in front of me and the building behind it. So we're almost there. Won't be long now. I don't know, this is like the longest mile, or half mile. I'm ahead of the other guys. I'm gonna go in, try and buy drinks, and I'll walk back and deliver a drink to them. Try and buy some Gatorade. So we made it to the Oasis Ranger Station. It's about 12:45 now. We've been here for about 8-10 minutes. I just talked to a guy who was a hiker, finished the AT back in the 90s. So we were talking a little bit about that. Unfortunately, the ranger station is out of water. The worker here was kind enough to give me 2 bottles of water, I should say, a liter and a half, and I shared it among the guys. Our transportation is very close, they say, and he's got the cooler. So hopefully we'll be good. Definitely dehydrated. I was starting to feel a little bit nauseous, and went to the bathroom now. It looks like tea. So definitely very dehydrated. I might just edit that out. Maybe that's too much information. But anyway, we're just waiting here. The guys were just sitting in the shade here trying to cool off and wait for our ride. So we got an eyeball in the entrance, so when he pulls in, hopefully we'll be able to see him. And here is transportation today. It's not Mrs. Drew, it's Nicholas. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
There's no water out there at all. As a matter of fact, they have no water even here except for the bathroom and the fountain. So we decided to come back. I didn't want to push on. There's
Come on, Steve.
Oh, you know.
Steven and
Everything good?
Everything good, man. Get for my toe.
and Matthew.
I got a bit. Oh, there's my flats. Where have you been all my life?
And there we are.
Here we are.
You know, got the Gatorades and liquid medicine in the pool.
Oh, nice.
And here's our lifesaver.
You want the zero
There you
sugar? You want the,
I don't care. I'll drink. Yeah, that'll go.
Classic stuff.
There you go. I've been dreaming about this for about 10 miles. Well, thank you for watching the video and thank you for joining me. Just wanted to do a little recap over this hike because it did turn out as planned, obviously. In some ways it's a failure, but in other ways it's not. Obviously, I got to go out there, had a good time in the 2 days we were out there. The second day wasn't really as pleasurable as the first. The water issue was obviously key. But before I go into that, I just want to go, the first day I did about 3-5 miles, plus the extra 2 that Matthew and I walked up and back, 1 mile up and 1 mile back to the campsite to try and find water. And the second day we did about 12.18 miles. So figure total, I did about 26.5 miles. The hike was planned to be 30.3. So we came very close to our total distance. It just wasn't the area that we were hoping to do the mileage in. But that comes to a very good point about some of the lessons I can learn. And that leads me to critiquing what happened, what went wrong, and why we didn't complete the trail as planned. And I have to take responsibility for that because I did most of the planning. I mean, obviously we knew the trail was there. We didn't need to do a lot of research, but honestly, doing some research, maybe getting up-to-date information. As I mentioned, I don't belong to Facebook or any of these groups, so I'm not on the user group, so I have no way. A lot of the user groups that I used to use, people don't go on them as much anymore and respond because most people are using Facebook or user groups for these types of trails. So when you use the bulletin boards, old-style bulletin boards, or user groups, no one's really monitoring them and answering questions, or there's no current information because most people have moved on to a easier stream of information. So that's something I need to do, is probably actually break down and get on Facebook, which I've been avoiding doing for multiple reasons. So obviously doing better planning and getting up-to-date information about trail conditions. I probably could have stopped or called the ranger station and maybe asked about current conditions. That was definitely should have been an option that I could have used as an information source, that I could have gotten current information on water and availability. Now I want to get back to the water issue because you can see even in the video, I think about at mile 4 or 5 on the first day, I start mentioning water. And you can see as the videos go on how that becomes more, I think, occupying in my mind, more of a priority as I realize going forward that we're not finding water on the trail in places where it says there was water pretty recently or there should be water and I was expecting it. So to not have one or two places with water is not really a concern. But when you start getting 4 or 5 places without water, and you're seeing a trend, and you're noticing that conditions are very, very dry, it was obvious to me when I was putting the video together that even at the early juncture, it was foremost in my thoughts and my concerns, because I mentioned it pretty early on, and it just became more and more of a concern as the day went on. And I actually went back and looked and counted. There were 16 spots where there was possible water listed up until the last one that we went to, which was the one a mile past our camp. And I counted that as 2 because there was reports of water both to the east and to the west of the trail. And Matthew and I searched both locations and we didn't find any. So that obviously went very strongly into my decision-making process. All 3 of us have gone out camping and hiking and stuff like that, but this was a little different for us. It's clear to me that January is usually going to be very wet and flooded if it's a normal to wet year. February will begin drying out, and by March, it appears, especially this year, it's been very, very dry down here, that by March, pretty much the trail is dry already. So if I was going to do this again, our original date was to go in January. We would have had no problem with water. The trail actually had water on it. And you can see in some of the videos, we're sleeping in cypress strands, or what should have been full of water. That area normally has 6 inches or 8 inches or even 1.5 feet of water. Some of the places you could see the marks on the trees and where the roots were, and they were bone dry, not even damp. The area we slept, the ground had some moisture in it, but there was no standing water at all. That led me to my decision, and even before I walked to the last spot, I had already said in one of the videos, I mentioned that if we don't find water here, we have to turn back. And that's because I prefer to go to the known or the unknown. Going forward, there are many, many spots listed as having water, and probability-wise, one of them might have water. But if it's such a dry year that we've been striking out, we basically had 0 out of 16 places with water, then the likelihood that we were going to find it several miles ahead, I thought was less than acceptable for a risk to take. It even discussed, well, if we have to go back 12, 13 miles, that's basically almost the same as continuing on. The difference is that we would have had to do more than that to get to the highway where we're going to be picked up. You know, we would have had to do close to 18 miles. Okay, that's not the same as 12. That's a lot more. Plus, even if we pushed and tried to do it in all one day, we would have been doing it out in exposed areas with the sun and going into the unknown. There was no guarantee of water at any of those forward places. So I'm going to go to the known. I know that first of all, 12 is less miles and distance than the 18 that we would have had to do to finish. And I also know with 100% certainty that there is going to be water at that 12-mile mark, 12 and a half, when we get back to the Oasis Ranger Station. There's no guarantee that anywhere along those 18 miles that I'm going to find water that's drinkable, that I can actually collect. Okay, and I thought it would be a dire situation. At least this way, I am heading toward where I know people are also. There's a likelihood that other hikers may come out. The following day was a Saturday. We ran into 2 groups, 2 families. I'm sure if we were in dire straits and I asked, hey, we need water, we're thirsty or whatever, or we're sick, or even if I had a call for help, I also knew that as I got closer to there, it would be much easier for someone to come meet us than to go forward 10 more miles and be in the middle of the Everglades. It's much easier to go back toward the ranger station, and if we got close, we discussed dropping our packs and leaving them and walking ahead, getting water, and then coming back for them. That was an option. You could have, obviously, if you really needed help, medical assistance, I'd rather be closer to help than farther away. So all these things led me right away. There was never a choice really of my mind, or maybe a fraction of a second of a choice to go forward and not turn back and walk back. I didn't take as many pictures on the way back, obviously, the second day, because we had already been there. And I was really concerned about the water and getting back. I didn't want to take the time to take a lot of pictures because, especially toward the end, I was feeling very dehydrated. I knew I was dehydrated, I was already feeling tired, fatigued. I had a headache. And then the last mile, I would say, I had some nausea, the beginning onset of queasiness and nausea. So I knew that I was feeling the effects of the dehydration. And it was getting to be the hottest time of the day. And we were out in the sun. There was very little shade where we were. It was very intermittent, sparse. Even when you're walking, and it might look like there's shrubs all around you, but there's nothing above you blocking that sun. And it was hot. There was no breeze that day, really. I wish, and Ray, I regret that we didn't do what we said, get up earlier and start hiking earlier so we could have got it back. But you know what? I knew we would make it, and we did. And I think we made the proper, safe, prudent choice. And I don't regret that for a minute. So that's the factors and the things that I was thinking of that led me to make that decision. So I'm also reviewing my gear. There's some stuff I would definitely not take. I definitely need to lighten up a little bit. I think I was too heavy. So I'll be tweaking my gear as I usually do after this trip. There's some stuff that I may reduce a little bit. I think I'm going to drop my first aid kit a little bit smaller, continue to throw out stuff that I don't use, and try to minimize what I do carry. So if you like what I'm doing, please consider leaving a comment below. Love getting those. I'll try to answer them all. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts or opinions, I know there's a lot of things in this video that can be critiqued. Also, consider giving me a thumbs up or a like. And if you're not already a subscriber, consider subscribing. And if you are, thank you again. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch these videos. Till we meet again.